My name is Alex Mativo. I'm a co-founder at Duck. We are a data analytics company, and we are helping some of the largest consumer brands in Africa to get shelf data from retailers. And the problem we're solving is retail is growing really fast, but there's a gap in the market where brands are not able to know what's happening in the market. So we're building the data infrastructure that services brands that sell through retail. It's Duck because of our work ethic. I'm sure you've seen a duck on water. It's swimming gracefully, but underneath it's paddling. So that's what we want to be as a company. Make it easy for the customer, but underneath we're doing all the heavy lifting. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I had a previous business called Nanasi, and it was a point-of-sale system for restaurants and small businesses. And over the period of running the business, something always came up from the business owners. It was, "Hey Alex, you're helping me organize my business, but I want to know behind the scenes. I want to know data about my customers, what they want, what they prefer, how to price my products." And turns out that the data they needed sat inside the point-of-sale systems that I was building. So it was a quick realization that businesses actually want data, and the data sits inside a point-of-sale system. So I pivoted from building a point-of-sale system to being the data provider of data that sits inside POS systems. Duck is about 1 year. The journey has been really interesting because as a second-time founder, you know what mistakes to avoid, you know what pitfalls to avoid, and you've already built a significant network, both from the customers and investors side. So doing it the second time is usually easier. And that's been my journey so far. So the 12 months have been accelerated. My learning curve has been very steep just because I've done it before. One thing I'm really good at is running experiments. So as a company, because you're young, you don't have a business model that's set in stone, and you don't have a customer base that's set in stone. So what I've always done is go with an open mind and be very objective and be very data-driven. So I experiment very quickly, learn who my customers are, learn what they want, and keep iterating. So it's never me knowing this is going to be the business in 10 years. I have a vision, but I'm really good at experimenting and making sure that I'm not blind to what the market says or what the signals are. For me as a business owner right now is the business environment in Africa. So over the last couple of years, we've seen very many big companies shut down, and that demotivates investors who have been investing millions of dollars in the continent over the last couple of years. So you're stuck, you're left in limbo. You're wondering whether to be a global business, brand yourself as a global business, and be market agnostic, or ride the Africa wave. So I'm still in that phase of deciding, should I be an African business and ride the Africa wave, or should I be a global business that's market agnostic? So I'm just navigating that challenge. That ties to your last question, where my challenge is always, should I ride the Africa wave or should I be a global business? So we got into the 360 program because of the promise of we can have access to investors outside the continent and access to a market that's outside Africa. So it was with the idea that UK is a gateway, and if we need to experiment and find UK customers, that would be an avenue or an angle for us to go to. So that's how we chose the 360 program. It's been really cool. My co-founder Michelle was in London a couple of weeks ago, and she came back preaching. She was preaching that, hey, listen, we're building a global business, and so she came back with validation that as a business we're not necessarily stuck with one customer base. We have an infinite, number of paths that we can follow as a business. So that sort of gives us credibility as a company that we're solving a global problem, and that we at any given point can tap into any market of choice. So that's been the biggest ROI from the 360 program. That's a really good question. So we see ourselves as building a Stripe, and I will explain. Way back 20, 30 years ago, Africa did not have complex communication infrastructure. People like Strive Mativo were setting up, undersea cables and providing internet access to Africa for the first time. And that was a serving infrastructure that enabled telcos to come in and, fintech companies to build on top of that infrastructure. Like the reason why we have mobile money and internet is because people laid the foundation. People put grids and cables everywhere. So back to DAC. What are we doing that's similar? So right now, there's no data infrastructure in Africa. No business has access to data about a given market without doing manual surveys or sending humans to collect the data, right? So we see ourselves as building the initial infrastructure where it's going to be a pipe which pipes data into any business, right? And we're starting with retail because that's where demand is first. But the idea is, think of it this way. So in future, if insurance products want to improve their products in retail, they plug into that data pipe and improve their products. If mobile money wants to make or to entice consumers with better offers, they plug into that pipe. If logistics companies or supply chains want to become more efficient, they have a data pipe that they can feed into. So we're laying that initial pipe, and that's the most exciting. Doing something for the first time, knowing that it's been done before in a different industry, and watching it grow in real time. The most unique thing about DAC is solutions we see right now are a patchwork of what is being tried and tested, but not scalable. For example, the only way for you as a big brand to collect real data that's usable in the market is to send agents with clipboards or to have an app that does surveys across any given market. But then the problem comes in when you want to scale that. You have to scale people, and then your costs go up. So you have way more overheads for you to do that. However, since we're an infrastructure company, we're just building a pipe that collects the data, does all the heavy lifting, and anyone can tap into. That's what's unique about it. Building a business is a science, and just studying from successful people and those that did not succeed, is those that succeed are really good at running experiments, right? So, for example, early days of Amazon, they experimented with everything from the buy once button to the color of the button to how the layout of the website looks, right? For them to come up with an optimal e-commerce experience, and that's what wins. However, if you don't experiment, you're stuck going down a path without being open to signals from the market. So it's very important for me to find the optimal path that's data-driven, that has real signals from customers, because over the last couple of years we've seen that that's the only way to find product market fit.